Hello everyone and welcome. If you have seen some of our videos, you will notice quite a bit of tile work. Although we may favor tiles in most residential settings, we don't usually recommend them for all areas. For our project in Korle Gonno, however, we initially wanted to use tiles, but after a thorough assessment and a number of brainstorming sessions, we decided to use terrazzo instead. This particular project is basically a production center or a workshop. This means there would be a lot of foot traffic in addition to the use of heavy machinery. Although tiles are durable, putting them under consistent stress and pressure will result in the tiles cracking or being damaged after some time. For this very reason, we decided to use the terrazzo. Now, we couldn't do just any type of terrazzo. It had to fall in line with the vision that the client has for the place. Looking at the work, we divided the project into two phases. For the first phase, we will be focusing primarily on the ground floor. And for the second phase, we will be focusing on the first floor. Now, for the ground floor, we suggested to the client that we use dark colors, or more accurately, dark gray, as that would be a great fit for the place. Due to all the movement and heavy machinery, using the dark gray might be the ideal option in this instance. Now, the dark gray wasn't just going to be plain dark gray, but it was going to have white pigments in there. And having the white pigments against the dark gray would make the floor pop even more. For the second phase, we suggested using lighter colors. Since the first floor won't have as much traffic and will be used primarily for offices and maybe say a cutting room, the first floor, in our estimation, would serve as a contrast for the ground floor. So in the end, we chose a light shade of yellow that looks almost whitish, and then we put white pigments in there. And before the terrazzo, we did screeding of all the floors, and once the screeding was done, we decided to lay our strips on the floor. The whole purpose of laying the strips is to stop the floors from cracking. And why would these strips stop cracks? The answer is simple: thermal expansion. When you fill a bowl with water and heat it up, after a while some of the water will spill over. That is, if you fill the water to the brim and cover it. The reason why the water will spill over is because as heat is applied to the water in the container, the water molecules expand. And as they expand, some of the water will spill over. When most materials are heated up, they expand and then contract when they are cool. This is the very reason why we use the strips in between the slabs. So as the slab expands, it will come into contact with the strip, and the strip is a rubber material. And so when the slab expands and pushes up against the strips, it squeezes the strips on both ends. That's because it's in slabs, it squeezes both ends, and it doesn't push up against each other. If the slabs push up against each other over time, they will crack. So after fixing our strips, we mixed our aggregates. For the ratio of white to yellow, we used 20% of the white and 80% of the yellow. The yellow color works well with white, and at this ratio, the white aggregates stand out enough, but not too much. So with the process of the terrazzo, first we ensure that the floor is even on all sides and corners. If your floors are uneven, then you have to go back and do your screeding again. But if the floors are even, then you continue by laying the strips parallel to each other and then also in a perpendicular manner. So in essence, you're basically creating a square or a rectangle. You don't just place the strips, you make sure that you measure them accurately so that everything falls in line. Now, after laying of the strips, we cast the floor slabs. The mixture of aggregates is usually dependent on what the client wants. Some clients will want less aggregates and more concrete slab. Some would want more aggregates so that the floor doesn't look too boring. It's usually dependent on what the client wants. After the casting, we do the rolling. Now the roller runs across the floor, and this serves two purposes. The first one is to remove all excess water in the terrazzo. And then the second reason is to compact the slab and the aggregate some more to properly bond them into one unit. So at this stage, all voids and spaces are thoroughly removed. After this, we allow the floor to cure completely, and this sets up the next stage, which is the grinding. For grinding, we use the diamond grinding disc. After the grinding, we do the polishing, or what some others refer to as transitioning. Once the polishing is done, the surface of the terrazzo floor becomes reflective in nature. Once we reach this stage, then we know that we are done with the terrazzo flooring. So this basically is the process that we went through whilst doing the terrazzo floor for our property in Korle Gonno. If you have any questions and suggestions, you can leave them in the comment section below, and we will do our best to answer them. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, kindly do so now, because we post more interesting videos like this. Until next time, cheers.